Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here. Hope you're enjoying this lovely summer afternoon. I figured we would take a stroll and we would talk about John Bolton. John Bolton. Is he Trump's kryptonite? No, he's not. No, he is not. But at the same time, when you look at John Bolton and you see what's going on, you have to ask yourself, why has the media simply flipped on John Bolton? And what do I mean? Well, back in the day, when John Bolton was an establishment neocon warmonger, somebody who was promoting the idea that Iran not only had a nuclear weapons program, but it was in conjunction with North Korea, and they were out to get us. We need to smart bomb the shit out of North Korea and Iran. Well, guess what he was a darling of? Fox News. A darling of Fox News, constantly on Fox News, and eventually he becomes part of the Trump administration. Immediately I call it out as, how could you hire this swamp creature? And at the time, John Bolton and James Mattis were in together, and James Mattis and him had a really stark interaction when they finally meet one another, when one says to the other, I heard you were the devil incarnate. It's either devil incarnate or Satan. And that's like Lucifer meeting Satan meeting Beelzebub, right? Because these guys are all about lying so that we can continue global spectrum dominance, including in the Middle East, via drone bombings and troops on the ground, all based in lies. By the way, 52 watching, 11 thumbs up. Let's get those thumbs up. So back then, Fox News used to have him on all the time, and he was the good guy, right? And now there are certain pundits on Fox News that have aligned themselves with Trump no matter what. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. But now that is the only network that is going after John Bolton. Now, back in the day, when John Bolton was advocating this stuff as far back as the Bush administration into the Obama administration, networks like MSNBC, CNN, etc., were extremely critical of him. The only network that was, outwardly promoting the guy at the time was Fox. Now, all of those networks are acting like John Bolton is the man you need to listen to. He's a hero. He's a hero. The walrus mustached maniac is a hero. No, he's not. He's never a hero. But Jason, he's Roger Stone's poker buddy. Huh. And people wonder why Roger Stone didn't get that pardon everybody expected. Weird. Remember, Roger Stone probably had a lot to do with bringing John Bolton into the inner circle of that administration, whether you like it or not. Whether you want to believe that or not, that's where the evidence points. So, let's talk about this book a little bit. Obviously, the book's not out, but people are pushing excerpts, talking about it, saying how Trump was making quid pro quo deals with Turkey and others, saying things that John Bolton had never heard in his entire time in government. Bullshit, John Bolton. You make me sick. You do. You were a warmonger before Trump, you were a warmonger during Trump, you are a warmonger now, and it shows the true colors of the establishment pushing your narrative as if, Trump is any more unstable than anybody else who's been in the White House. It's tomfoolery, it's chicanery, it's Johnny nonsense, okay? Now, a judge has already made rulings on this book that indeed it did share what appears to be classified information. What does that mean? Well, number one, apparently it means all of the profits from this book will be taken in by the government, and they're going to do something with it. Trump was kind of bragging about that ruling, saying, again, he didn't go through the proper channels and he won't be able to profiteer from it. Number two, it opens the gates for him to be criminally prosecuted. Think about that. Now, this is a guy who has been a longtime advocate of the censorship of free speech, of the prosecution of people like Julian Assange, of the destruction of WikiLeaks. Okay? Now remember, John Bolton's the kind of guy that's talked about whistleblowers like Edward Snowden hanging from a tree. Okay? And I get it, you know. Snowden has problems, Assange has problems, nobody's perfect, right? James Corbett, someone I greatly respect, has done many a piece, you know, questioning their motives and what's really going on with them. But the point being is John Bolton is all about free speech when it's his agenda. John Bolton is all about disclosing things when he wants to. John Bolton is there to push establishment narratives for a predator class, and anyone who would oppose those narratives and dare speak out against them should not only not be promoted, but they should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, according to the walrus mustached maniac, John Bolton. And how many times are we going to sit here and act like these double standards do not and have not existed? Because they have, and they continue to. And perhaps what's most disturbing is it is becoming more and more the norm that everybody is just allowed to forget the past, whether the past is 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 18 months ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and no longer look at the record of a guy like that and hold his feet to the fire for his actual policies, for his actual writings, for his actual connections. Instead, it seems anytime you are willing to flip on the most transactional president of all time, Donald Trump, right or wrong, you get promoted by a certain section of the media industrial complex. How many people on the left right now are acting like Bolton is a hero? It's this is the guy. Yeah, drone bomb guy, that guy. North Korea is the enemy guy, that guy. Let's go into Syria, Iran, and every other nation, that guy. What we did in Libya was good. Let's use the Libyan model. Remember that? Remember when John Bolton wanted to use the Libyan model in the Middle East? I mean, what kind of insanity are we living under? That not only does a guy like that have power, but that he is promoted and not prosecuted for his crimes. You know, later today, I'm gonna be doing a Rockfin exclusive on the power of money and influence in society, and how we have a tiered justice system, not based in justice at all, but based in money, connections, power, and cover-ups. And that's how a guy like John Bolton even got to where he is today. Think about it. John Bolton is an advocate for mass murder. And because he wears a suit and he's part of organizations in Washington, D.C., you're not allowed to say that. That's harmful. That's harmful content, Jason. That's why you're demonetized on this platform. You're not worshiping John Bolton. I never will. And I never will. Now, on the flip side, 18 months ago, 2 years ago, when John Bolton was in the administration, then I could criticize John Bolton on this platform at least, which seems utterly bizarre. But only if I criticized him in the boundaries that were set forth by the new American left. And when I say the new American left, I talk about really the new American authoritarianism, because it has nothing to do with left or right other than to prop those two sides up against each other so that they don't realize that they are fighting not their enemies, but their neighbors, friends, and families. And we really need to address that. So guys, thumbs the video up, subscribe and share. Remember, the GoFundMe link is below. We're fully demonetized on this platform. It's nice to get out, you know, now that I've been driving around a little more. I'm not walking, I don't have the dog, so I'm not out every day, and I gotta make sure but I get my vitamin D, I get my sunlight, I get my exercise in as well, and you guys should too. You know, looks like a pretty empty day at the park, although it looks like the gazebo's filling up. Not seeing any masks, which is kind of nice. You know, people are not buying into the bullshit as much anymore. So I want to remind you guys, I am on Rockfin. I'm going to be doing a video on Ernie McCracken, Big Ern McCracken at a Kingpin, and the Predator class and how they relate to one another exclusively on Rockfin. That's coming up in a bit. Try to kick out another couple jams on YouTube today, including Ask Me Anything. And guys, I'm trying to figure out the best way to reintegrate super chats into the broadcast, because I really do miss on the fly being able to interact with an audience that pops up. So if you guys know how to integrate Streamlabs or Entropy or any of these new formats into something like XSplit, a broadcaster, please let me know. DM me on Twitter. I'd love to have that knowledge, because you know, I'd really like to have that feature, if nothing else, back so I can real-time interact with all you guys. Thank you for joining me. Remember to check out the documentary films as well. Loose Change Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, and New World Order Defined, especially now, and Shade the Motion Picture. Absolutely love ya, and I'll see you on the flip, guys.